So hello everyone, today we are going to learn about that CDMA. So CDMA is a part of channelization and the full form of CDMA is code division multiple access. So code division multiple access. So let's start with this, that what is the exactly working of code division multiple access. So code division multiple access is a second or third generation wireless communication. Second and third wireless communication. So next thing is, as the name implies, that CDMA means code division multiple access is a form of multiplexing which allows numerous signals to occupy a single transmission channel. So this is the brief introduction of CDMA. Let's start the working of CDMA with the example. Suppose we are having four stations with us. This is the number one station and this is the number two station. And we just simply says that having number one station having a data 1 means D1 and 2 having the D2, right? So this is the one single channel through which my data will transmit from one device to another device. So let's start with this. Now we are having four stations as we have already discussed. So this is the third one and this is my fourth number of station, and the third number station having a D3, fourth number of station having D4. So as the name, we know that this is the code division multiple access, so we are going to use the code. So for this we are having the code chip sequence with us. And what is the meaning of this? Means each station having code chip sequence. Let's take an example, that C1. C1 is a code chip sequence for the station number 1. And this having the code sequence that is +1, +1, +1 and +1. In the same way, if we talk about that C2 code sequence having +1, -1, +1 and -1. Same as it is if we talk about that third station, as we know that we are having the four stations with us. So C3 having +1, +1, -1 and -1. Same as it is C4 having +1, -1, -1 and +1. So we are having four code sequence for each station, right? So let's start with the working of the code division multiple access. So this is the station number 1. So station number 1 having the code sequence that is C1, and the value for this is +1, +1, +1 and +1, right? Now this data having some specific value. So data representation, here I'm going to write the data representation of data representation is, suppose I'm having bit 0, then bit 0 having the value that is -1. If we talk about that bit 1 having the value that is +1. Suppose my channel is silent, means silence also having the value that is 0. So now here if we say that we are having the data value that is bit 0, and bit 0 the data representation is -1. So D1 value having the -1, C1 value having these four code sequence. Now this is the common channel through which my data will transmit from one station to another station. So D1 is going to work with the D1 multiply with the C1. So let's do this, multiply the value of D1 with the C1. So we get the value of D1 C1 for the channel 1 that is -1, minus 1 and minus 1. How we get this? Simply you just multiply this plus 1 with the minus 1, then automatically you will get the minus 1. In the same way, the second minus 1, third minus 1, fourth minus 1. In the same way, suppose station number 2 having the value for data, that is again bit 0, and the bit 0 value is minus 1, and the C1 C2 value for this station, that is we already know that this one is my value for the C2, that is plus 1, minus 1, plus 1 and minus 1. So this is the code that we are having under a station number 2. Now we need to multiply these two. D2 multiply with the C2. So value we get, that is minus 1 plus 1 minus 1 plus 1, right? We just multiply these all values with each other. So D2 C2 value we get, that is minus 1 plus 1 minus 1 and plus 1. In the same way, if we say that D3 having the value, data value, suppose I'm saying that this is the silent, and you know that the silent value is 0, and C3 for this is plus 1 plus 1 minus 1 minus 1 plus 1 plus 1 minus 1 minus 1. So we just get the D3 C3 value, that is 0 0 0 and 0. Why we get this 0? When we multiply the plus 1 with the 0, then automatically we get the 0. In the same way, D4 having the data value, that is bit 1, right? And the you can say the binary value for this is plus 1. So plus 1 is the data value for the fourth channel, fourth station. Next is C4. C4 value, that you can see here the plus 1, minus 1, minus 1 and then plus 1. So this is the C4 value, this is my D4 value. So multiply D4 with the C4, that is value, that is we get this 1 plus 1 plus 1 minus 1 minus 1 plus 1. We get this value after multiplication of these all values. So you can see that we get the value D3C1, D1C1 this, D2C2 this, D3C3 this and D4C4 this. Now it's time for the channelization, as we know that this is the one channel and through this our station will send the data. So now we are having 1, 2, 3 and 4 data, that 4 stations data that we are going to transmit through this channel. So for this, what we have to do? We have to generate the signal now. So my signal is going to be generated in the form that D1 C1 value is what? We get it, that minus 1, minus 1, minus 1, minus 1. D2 C2 value that I am having, D2 C2 is minus 1, plus 1, minus 1, plus 1. D3 C3 value that I am having, that is 0, 0, 0 and 0. D4 C4 that we are having the value plus 1, minus 1, minus 1, plus 1. So when you merge these all, then we get the data value, that is, simply we say the value that we will get, that is minus 2 plus 1, that is minus 1. Minus 1 plus 1 cancel and then we get the minus 1. Minus 1, minus 1 and minus 1. Then we get the value, that is minus 3. Then 2 minus 1, that is 1 plus 1. We get the value. If we generate the signal for this, then we get the signal for station number 1. The signal would be, as we know that here the 4 number of code is minus 1. So minus 1, minus 1, minus 1 and minus 1. Minus 1, minus 1, minus 1 and minus 1. If we say that signal for the channel number 2, so we are having for this is minus 1, plus 1, minus 1 and then plus 1. So minus 1, plus 1, minus 1, plus 1. So this is for this. And station number 3 we are having, that is simply we say all zeros. So there is no signal at the positive side and the negative side. Let's move with the fourth number. So fourth number we are having value that is plus 1, minus 1 and then plus 1. Plus 1, minus 1 plus 1, right? So we get the signal in this way, that is minus 1, minus 1, minus 3 and plus 1. This signal is going to be transmit from this channel, right? Now we says that we are having the D2 as a sender. Now my D2 is a sender and my receiver is D3. My receiver is D3. So how we can get this value that data is going to be transmitted, or what type of data we are going to send? As we know that we are working with the code division, so our data is going to be converted into the code and then transmit. But how we can find out that at the receiver end that what data is going to be received by the receiver? So we just simply use this signal, make addition of this all signal, then after addition of this signal we receive the value that is minus 4. This minus 4 is going to be divided by 4. Now from where we get this 4? Here we are having 1 2 3 4 channels, right? Here we are having 4 channels. Here we are having 4 channels, so we just simply divide this and this. We get the value that is minus 1. So minus 1 is my data that is going to be received by my receiver, and the receiver is third number of station. So in this way we work with the code division multiple access. So let's start learning about this. Thank you so much.